From what I watched, he was decent. I think moving between co-streaming and actually doing color is interesting, like mechanically, because you obviously have to censor yourself a lot more.
Yeah.
And but like the analysis points are largely the same. I haven't watched his co-stream much, but it's all like, I mean, dude played pro from the jump, and I think that like I always have appreciated pro junglers' level of understanding of macro stuff,
Yep.
just as kind of a blanket statement. So it makes sense that he would be good at that side of color, like seeing macro movements and seeing how that progresses. So like I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's gonna be a thing past like one day of it, but he could do it. He's got some stuff to clean up, and like he'd probably need to do some vocal coaching to take. He's got some ticks that he leans on, really obviously, like your usual um the way this works is, or like phrases like that just came up a lot as you're going along in the game. But the analysis points were good, and if he trains up the like presentation side of it, he could be really good. And if he's actually interested in doing that, which actually doing this for the LPL is a I could be doing this kind of thing. I'm interested to see how that develops because he's obviously a really well-known personality and one of the bigger streamers.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
should do it. It's good for his brand.
Well, and him being one of the only people to co-stream the LPL, he's been in on the LPL specifically from the jump. I don't know many other people that actually co-stream the LPL. I know him getting the rights to do that
Yeah, I
for
was about to say, I think he had to
him
negotiate for
getting the rights to
rights.
do that for summer was a big deal because like it's not a thing.
No.
So it seems like it could be a good fit if they want to go that direction, but it'd be a loss of income for him. Like they're not going to pay him enough to make up for streaming, I would imagine, with the numbers and subs he brings in.
Isn't he re-uploading those casts though on his channel?
I don't know about the
I
YouTube side
think
of it.
I
That's
think
a
I
good
just
point.
saw him, but I think that's how I knew that he did it. To be honest, but let me double check that. I would also wonder if that has anything to do with his Cloud9 contract.
Good point.
He did upload a highlight video.
Yeah, yeah. Like they, but it's both that like Suning Top was a really fun series to watch. Like those were actually good games, and it was interesting to get a voice. Like I've watched Dom stream for years at this point, so it was
Mm-hmm.
interesting to hear a voice on this side of the coin.
I
But
will
yeah, like
say that
that series is worth watching, and I think RAJDG is worth watching too.
the view count on that highlight stream is kind of like double his current average. So it
Interesting.
behooves him to do that.
Yeah. It's just like
I don't know
he'd
what revenue on one
opposed to
video
like
is.
guesting on the analyst desk or like casting full time, he's gonna have to hit the right balance and be allowed to hit the right balance in terms of like number of days, right? Like if he's casting 1 day a week, um, and then streaming five off one, like it seems like that could be beneficial for both parties, maybe. Like or 2-4.
I
Like it
mean, even
depends on
if he
how
just
many.
modifies his co-streams just to the way that like it's more of his own independent cast,
Mhm.
that would work with his content already, especially because he gets good special guests that are other players, and so
Well, and it's also one of those things like if he's trying to practice color, he still is in NA,
mm-hmm.
and like $5 says Flowers would do a stream with him and just cast games.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of shit Flowers does all the time, and that'd be a great learning experience for him, and people would eat that shit up.
Or
That'd be
bring
great
some of the
content.
academy casters that need to work on their
Yeah,
stuff a little bit. Give Hayes
They've
like
had a couple of them actually doing LPL games
because
already.
like having done the little bit of color casting that I did, it's hard to learn how to do it right and to feel that cadence without practicing with a play-by-play,
Yep.
to just feel that back and forth flow and feel the transitions. So, like, the more experience he gets actually working with a co-caster, because of how, like, that's how Riot does stuff. That's how it's going to be. He's going to have a play-by-play and he's going to be color. I think it will be interesting to see if he pursues that more deeply.
Hell yeah.
So we could have just recorded all that shit,
I
but
did.
good.
I'm learning.
Cool. So do you want to record the intro now then?
Are you gonna make me edit this? I guess we could just like, yeah, I don't care. Like that's what YouTube does now. You do 5 minutes of actual content, then you actually start the video.
Well, anyway, I guess this is reaction time.
Yeah.
We're here. I'm David. Steven and Eric are here. Um, we just spent the first however many minutes that was talking about Christian I will dominate Vargas, is that right?
I thought it was Crack Dom.
Nice. Respect the poor man. Um
He embraces the crackhead Dom
he
meme.
does
Are you
embrace the
kidding me?
crackhead man.
Dog.
That's fair. His professional casting debut in the LPL and the two series from boy, what night? Um Go back to my VODs. This was Sunday early morning. So Saturday night, Sunday early morning this weekend, and two very fun series with Suning and Top Esports and um oh, I must have been wrong. I guess it was WEJDG. Whoops. Oh well. Um I haven't watched that one yet. I did say that out loud. So there's a little bit of LPL content for you. So we'll start in the LPL. We're gonna kind of talk around the regions. I don't think we actually planned any EU talking points, but I'm sure Eric can spit something out if I need him to. Because I want to talk about the LPL first because it's in a what? Oh, that was really funny. So I clicked on the LoL Esports website and it showed the EU team names with LPL team logos for about 3 seconds there. And that didn't make any sense in my brain.
That's one heckin' trade.
I think Fnatic had the EDG logo, which I mean, if you want to draw some parallels, go right ahead.
Thanks, LOL Esports, for the content you provide.
Basically. So if we look at the LPL standings, right? The big story, I think probably the last time we talked about this was LNG starting the season super well. I think they went 7-0 to start the season and were on spectacular form. Tarzan was looking really good. Everything was kind of clicking together. They have since lost 3 straight series and kind of look bad again. So they're already down into a tie for second in the league with RA and FPX, who have both been in decent form. RA has been weirdly, after me bigging them up from nothing, Fofo's been an MVP candidate so far this split. He's been one of the best mids in the league. And they've been as consistent as anybody has been in the league, even in their losses. So they are a deserved top team. FPX had their one weird moment. If we want to talk about roster swaps, they did some fun stuff. Because it's you can't have a professional league without people randomly roster swapping at this point. So
Live on
LWX played a
camera.
series. LWX played a series at support. They've played a sub top laner, a sub ADC, and a sub support. Who everything has kind of worked out okay for all of this, which is why they're still second in the league. But they benched Nuguri for a series, which was weird. LWX played Alistair for 2 games and looked really good on it, which was weird. So FBX, they're still doing it. Doinby has like 6 games of Clud this split. He doesn't change, and it's great. That's why they're my favorites. But then the middle of the table is a giant mess, and everyone else kind of sucks, and or doesn't suck depending on the day. Eric, do you have any mid-table LPL teams that have caught your eye so far this split below the top 4?
So it's a good question. I don't know. Part of it because it has been so toss-up. Like even watching LGD games has been interesting occasionally, and watching these other like lower in the standings teams play. It could be that I'm just just excited to be watching a league with best of 3 and intriguing gameplay. But I don't know actually. That's about it. I like LGD has been interesting. OMG's been pretty dull. I don't know.
Suning has been mine. Like they've been really hit and miss. They've had good moments, and then they go out and lose to what bottom team did they lose to this week? They pulled a real classic game. Oh yeah, right. Sorry, they this morning gave Rogue Warriors their first win of the split. um,
Nice.
or first win, second win, not very many win.
A win is a win is a win.
I think that might have been their first series win. Oh no, sorry. Rogue Warriors have 2 series wins. No, 3 series wins. They've beaten V5, who haven't won a game, and then they've beaten
They won
IG
one
and
game.
Suning.
V5 has won one individual game.
Yep. But let's just acknowledge the fact that this is part of the problem with the middle of the OPL is RW is hilariously bad and lost basically every game to start the season, and now have wins in 2 of their last 3 series against Suning and IG. Yeah, I think that tells you a lot of what you need to know about both Suning and IG this split. Because like it's the like world's teams of LPLs in the last 2 years, right? Like Top Esports is the only team that's beaten EDG, which is a big deal. But they just go out and look terrible against bad teams all the time. Suning has had a couple of really great performances and good solid wins over top teams, and then loses to bottom teams. IG beats top teams, loses to bottom teams, and that's why they're all in this giant mess in 8th and 13th and 10th. They're all better than that, but they're also not, which is part of the fun of this giant mess of the mid-table. Like, IG still has Rookie, who is still an excellent player. They are 3-6 in best of 3s this summer, and deservedly are not in the playoff positions. It's ridiculous. There's also the fact that Royal, after winning MSI and then proceeding to absolutely be just terrible for the start of the split, have started to figure things out. I think they may have won their last 3 series in a row and are now up to 12th in the table. So they're getting back on, but they gave themselves a heck of a hole to climb up. Yeah, they've won each of their last 2 series 2-0 over LGD and IG, arguably 2 bottom teams, but they've started to look more like the team that won LPL Spring, which just makes this more interesting. There's arguably 13 teams in the LPL that are playoff contenders for 10 spots, which out of 17 is honestly pretty good. And like, even Ultra Prime have not been that bad at times, so you could say 14. RW have beaten 2 teams above them in the standings, so 15 out of 17 have multiple series wins out of 9 or 10 games so far, which it's not quite parity, but it's more interesting, I think, than NA, as Eric alluded to in a lot of different ways. Among them being even some of the bad teams are kind of good. But that's your LPL moment. Should we talk about bad NA teams?
Oh, I mean, if we're getting into North America, I think we just...
Bad NA teams? So, okay.
What defines bad anymore? It's all topsy-turvy. It's upside down and wild.
No, we're going to talk about CLG, who were definitely...
Oh!
No, we're going to start there. We'll get to upsets in a bit. We need to talk about this disaster.
Yes, a PR nightmare, as they call it.
So, did you guys... Like when in the timeline of people shitting on this post did you guys come into it at? I got there after the initial post had been deleted. So I didn't see the instantaneous piling on.
Are you saying you don't follow
what did you guys see of
CLG's
the
media?
initial reaction here?
I was appalled initially, but actually thinking about it a little bit, I would like to pose a question. What is the difference between this situation and the chaos situation at the TSM house
Okay,
and the Dyrus
Mr.
crying
Boomer, I need you to explain your reference to the children in
to
the
the
chat.
children? Okay, so Reginald did a video of Chaos, which was the AD carry at the time
Yeah.
for TSM, and this was like season 1.
Founding team member
Founding
Chaos.
team, who would eventually be replaced by Wild Turtle, of them in their flop house, gaming house, and he's like, Dyrus, I'm off the team, and Dyrus is like, this is bad, and then cries. So it radiates very similar energy. Um, so I'm curious to see if that is like a historic point in League of Legends history, but it's an old one at this point. Um, is it the same?
What do you think, Eric?
So TSM's branding at the time was "Fuck it, Bay
Baylife,
Life."
yeah.
Just to put it out there. CLG is a team that has sponsorship from Madison Square or like the Madison Square Garden,
Well, specifically
like
Bud Light, which
conglomerate,
sponsored
and
this.
Bud Light, which sponsored this video. These are very different levels of like corporate branding and involvement and professionalism expected from you. Like TSM also at that time published literally their day-to-day lives on effectively some kind of soap opera drama thread of like day in day out reality TV. So like comparing the two is like if CLG's goal was to have a reality TV show of their 10th place team, then they should have gone more all in is all I have to say. Make your starting roster be Survivor. Have them have to do challenges
Put out the
after game
torch.
on Sunday. Like really hammer it home if that's your angle. Otherwise, like you're doing some very questionable like also if you're basing your strategy on how to interact with team members off of what has Reggie done in the past, you might have some problems, and I would expect litigations heading your way in the near future as soon as you like hire your girlfriend to run your company, who then breaks up with you, who then starts sleeping with your star player, who you add to your team, who then retires to be a stream, choose you out every weekend. Like I don't know if this is a smart decision as far as anything goes.
So I just the disclosure that if you've been here since the jump, you know I am a former CLG fan. I adored this team for a very long time and got out for my mental health. Um, I would like to share this thread from Exogen on Twitter, who is a former CLG coach, currently works in social media for Cloud9. I'm just gonna read this straight up verbatim because it's a lot of the things that I've thought basically since the MSG takeover a couple of years ago when franchising happened. Fuck it. MSG is the biggest problem with CLG. Number one, support from MSG is always clunky and never clear. Number two, some departments need to be expanded or reworked to be clear on what they need from them. Number three, players in constant fear for their jobs, because MSG 1 week can just request a roster swap. And now you have to listen to MSG or you lose your job. So now staff and players always shitting themselves. It's so sad because CLG has some gems. A couple people are legit the backbone that fight to hold the org together. They love the org and fight for the players always. I'm just tired of seeing players and staff get flack for things out of their control. Players always coming in 1 to 2 months late due to visas. Check. That's happened multiple times at CLG at this point. Forced swaps that ruin synergy that you've been playing catch up to attain. Look at Broxa this whole time. Players getting flamed for decisions outside of their control. Boy, CLG coaching has been a train wreck for so many years at this point. At some point, it's like, were you really on CLG if you didn't have a mental breakdown at some point? I have a million other things I could type or talk about, but thinking about it is exhausting. Anywho, thanks for reading. So, Exogen, former CLG employee, I am not surprised by any of that, nor should anyone if they've been paying any attention to the team over the last couple of years. Like, the MSG ownership group is widely noted for having run the New York Knicks abjectly awfully for a long time in a glamour market in one of the most iconic arenas in the NBA. They broke their playoff drought this past year finally, but like it's been their management has been a constant joke for a decade. So when this team, this ownership group is the ones that buy CLG, who were already trending downwards before the start of franchising, it's a death knell for the organization. It's and nothing has proved more true. The question of what will it take for a serious change to happen is will they trigger the relegation clause? However that actually works because they've been bad enough for it. If they finish ninth or 10th, I think they staved that off last year because they got eighth maybe, but like they've been an embarrassment to the league for years.
I,
And it's shameful to see that then now, like, yeah, we're going to talk in front of you about you losing your position in possibly the most cutthroat state the league has ever been in at this point, with the number of roster swaps, the number of signings and changes that we've seen. And then we're going to publish it on social media because it's going to make you feel sorry for us? Is that
sponsored.
the angle here? And then you see, like, okay, we're going to bench Pobelter. Yeah, he's been playing like crap. We're going to play DeMonte, who's had good moments. Cool. Like, the DeMonte signing is interesting and could make the team better. But what does this do to any kind of team dynamic you have?
Well, and I wonder if this is enough to merit an investigation by Riot, just to say, like, is this a healthy environment for us to keep, like, you signed on with us for player mental health? They don't have like the psychiatrist or any of that on their staff. That's been mentioned before, right? They don't have like the player,
The sports
the
psychologist.
sports psychologist. Yeah, I
I
think
don't
I've
know
seen
I
that
about
have one
meme.
as a
anybody.
coach, and that was an abject disaster too.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
Weldon.
mm,
yeah. So, like, at what point also then does DeMonte start getting kind of the Jeff Fisher rep of like, here's the guy you bring in when your like entire main roster is falling apart and you're gonna be like full on in scramble mode in this off season.
Well, and the other option, if I move from the more serious analysis side to the joke side, okay, if we're going to be a meme organization, there are a couple ways to do this. Number one, you bring in the stream team, like Dignitas did, and just be a meme team. Let's play Cutie at ADC. What could go wrong?
that was
Like
Echo
in the LCS
Fox,
right now.
you
Let's do it.
animal.
Content. Or you do the Eric, as Eric said, the survivor approach. Look, Dardak was a free agent. He would probably come back from a coaching role this week. How else are you going to make better content in the NALCS than to just put Dardak in your jungle spot, say he's staying no matter what, you guys figure it out.
Dardoch and DeMonte would be like a prime roster for
Yep,
just like
just stick him in there. Fuck
bringing it
Broxton.
in.
Send him out.
Yeah.
That would be hype.
Just see what happens. It's just you feel awful for the players. Like that's the thing that can be taken away because unironically, you look at the roster that they are playing, and it's a little bit of a stretch to say legends, but Broxa, Pobelter, and Wild Turtle all have decorated national and international careers to varying degrees. I think all three have won championships, and are they possibly past it? Possibly, but is there any support from this organization for you have three championship winning players on a roster that is not quite dead last in the league, but is trying their best to get there. Like, I just they shouldn't be as bad as they are. And
No,
that's
because
the whole theme the whole time is they should not be this bad.
yeah,
They
because
have
if you
veteran
pull those,
experience. They have they it I and the other side of the coin is look at their academy roster. They've done nothing to develop talent. They Other teams are like, we're gonna swap in our academy roster and go 2-1 this week. Hi, Immortals. CLG's academy roster is terrible. They like what is the end game here? They should be doing what Golden Guardians have done, sell everyone. Sell every single veteran player they have, buy teams from academy teams, play a rookie team, and maybe actually find something new. Like it, whatever this is doesn't work.
There's no plan. Because I
It
mean,
feels bad for it feels bad for Finn and Broxa, who have gotten into this situation to be where they are, and I hope have been compensated handsomely for it.
I feel
But
like you could
like
also drop those players on any other team individually, and they would function better than they are here in this environment. That's
Broxa had his
supposedly
problems on TL. He was not this.
no, no, and that just goes like this is an environmental problem. Like you can't paint it any other way. This is a like management decision making issue. This is a stakeholder like meddling issue. It's something that is not anything to do with like League of Legends or the players. This is not like we're not cooperating or we're not like participating or we have bad energy. Like honestly, they've really assembled a lot of the like, hey, we're just gonna meld with any team that we're on. These are players that have bounced around quite a bit. There's no reason that we would have a synergy issue. This is just like it sounds like a nightmare. I hope these players come forward or like oh God forbid the players league or the players union could do something to just like expose like this is not how you run a team in any capacity. And nonetheless run a team and get success. So I think this should be looked at with a lot of scrutiny. Like, why is this like this? Because this seems very, very strange. Like French Baguette, like Immortals problems, like that they were having, kind of situation. Whatever that time frame was, that they completely wiped that whole coaching staff for improvements. Seems to have done something.
Man, Finn's under contract until 2023.
So, like, that kind of ties into the problem. You brought up, like, the FlyQuest scenario, where they sold off all these, like, high-value players for a cheaper roster and rebuilt. Same with Golden Guardians. Like, all these players on CLG are under well, Finn and Broxa are under long contracts. And then you have to have somebody pay a buyout. And it's like they aren't going to get a buyout with the way things are shaping right now. You need more of a parachute. And that's like speaking it's so that's even more terrible management of like entering into these long-term contracts with these veteran players who then you're not going to be able to offboard because the other teams in NA either are going to be looking cheap right now or theoretically have other tools at their disposal. It's
So
very bad.
to update, if the time contract timings on the Gamepedia wiki are right, the contracts for Smoothie and Broxa and Pobelter all expire in November,
Okay.
but Turtle is under contract through 22 and Finn is under contract through 23, which
Brutal.
I like. What do you do?
So like and even more mismanagement with like Turtle, right? So Turtle became the face of FlyQuest for like a few years on like their brand and their content, and he was like a primary content creator for that organization.
That's good for
Like,
him.
and then they pick him up for CLG, and it's like, what have they done with Turtle? Like Turtle is a great community figure to have on your org, and then also like is a very cheerful presenting individual. So like if not even Turtle looks happy in your content, you're misusing you're misusing your friendship crew who you hired here pretty severely as well.
And this is a different conversation that has been brought up is like the brand equity within North American League of Legends is the player story and putting that out there and creating content around that. And like that's why people tune in and watch your games. That's why people buy your merchandise is because they were attracted or they aligned themselves with the stories of the individual players. Wild Turtle is easily a resource to leverage that kind of content Pobelter is as well. Broxa, like you have some known entities that you could be leveraging and highlight, even if they're losing and you're putting that content out there and it's an appropriate environment to be showcasing, you would still have a following and you would be developing brand equity within developing an audience if you're showcasing these players and these players are like, hey, yeah, like we have a really good vibe and like we really like doing this, like we're not getting the wins, but like we're gonna get there, we're working hard and doing this. They can't show that content because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that was noted on the upon the MSG acquisition is CLG has the worst socials in the league. They have for years, and that was from like they did good content and had good people in the like Stixay and Who He Glory years. Who He's the wonderful charismatic guy even was when he was getting shit on by the community. And like it's just there's nothing. They don't try. This was their attempt at trying to have
Abhorrent.
real social content. They don't like there's it needs like a top-down clean out. They need to sell the team.
Mm-hmm.
Sell the team, fire everybody. You might as well rebrand it too. Like this isn't CLG. This isn't the CLG that people fell in love with.
It hasn't been for
Particularly
a
like
while.
arguably the greatest team that NA has ever had internationally.
Mm-hmm.
That there is a fine argument that can be constructed that 2015 CLG was the greatest NA team has ever had at an international event. And this is an embarrassment to that organization's history, to the LCS, to everything.
Yeah, like Hotshot doesn't have any like holding over this. Yeah, he completely like
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
You
made
can
his money.
tell. Yeah. I don't fault him at all. I was just curious, like, what's
I fault
what?
him because this is the buyer he sold to.
But like, what's holding this together? I really don't know. I cannot imagine that the stakeholders are really happy with their return on this kind of like investment. But I guess
If they cared, they would fire everybody and clean house. I don't think they care, and that's part of the problem. Anyway, let's talk about not the worst team in the league. Let's go to Upset City because Upset City is way more fun. So this weekend was weird.
what's the biggest upset? Me and Eric were having a discussion about it. Do you have one? Like, there's a gun to your head. What's the biggest upset of the weekend?
Look at the match list.
No, you just gotta like. What's your?
I don't know.
You haven't
the results
heard
off
any?
the top of my head.
Okay.
Just hold your horse.
Well, Eric can give his.
Yeah, y'all go first. I gotta look it up.
Well, mine was Golden Guardians beating 100 Thieves on Friday. Like the draft from 100 Thieves was a little questionable, but like Golden Guardians just ran them over with like winning lanes and then transitioned it really cleanly into good team fightings and objective control. And it's like this is the first game of Licorice on the roster after he got brought over from FlyQuest, and the fact that they immediately looked better as a team and had more like awareness on the map and were able to really hammer it home was pretty phenomenal. And was a bit of a gut punch too, because 100 Thieves had been getting a ton of hype going into the week as like this best team in NA, might look good internationally, all this stuff, and then they promptly get slaughtered by by Golden Guardians.
If I may offer another one on the flip side of that, I think I would pick FlyQuest Academy 10C9.
That was mine. That's my big one.
Because the Licorice deal worked for both teams?
Question marks?
Question mark? Like FlyQuest obviously didn't just change him, but I like it. This is a team that played Academy the whole split, beating the team that was supposed to be the best team in the history of NA. I don't care that they've been bad this split. Like, that's an Academy team who 3-0s this weekend. Like, and so they were legit and played well. Diamond played way better than the last time he was in the league, which was awesome to see. And Kumo looked perfectly at home. Like, yep. I think that was, like, the standings don't say it is nearly as big as the last beating first, which Golden Guardians over 100 Thieves was. But
This is an
I think
academy
that
team.
just on pure reputation alone, the academy team beating C9, like that was
MSI
it's
stand.
triple, like it's triple beating Perks. Triple, who was a great player in Oceania in his own right, but beating Perks in a game. What?
And wasn't Perks on Yasuo?
So yes,
Which is
or it
also
might have been the other game. He played
It was
Yasuo one of the
TF. It was
games.
TF into Lucian.
right.
Yeah,
Okay, TF and Lucian.
yeah, and Perks actually was running it down on TF that game, if I'm remembering right. Like he like TF ulted into the middle of like all 5 of FlyQuest in this fight right by Baron Pit this one time, and didn't even have Zonias and just got popped. It was really bad. Like there was some serious tactical mistakes made by C9 in that game. But like a part of why I actually favor the game where it was like less of a complete roster overhaul is that like the academy team in this has nothing to lose and like everything to gain by putting on a good show. And C9 has already been floundering this split. Like this just looked like a continuation of the problems I see when Perks um is not ahead, is I guess how I'd put it. And then versus the 100 Thieves Golden Guardians game, which is like this is the exact same Golden Guardians roster just with a new top laner. And like Licorice from solo is not even that big of a difference, but they looked completely different and they really were impactful with early game snowballing. And so, like, I don't know, it felt more to me like it was owned by Golden Guardians doing the winning, whereas the FlyQuest versus C9 game had a little bit of throw in there, or just like complete lack of cohesion and knowing how to play team comms.
I do say that FlyQuest Academy took 3 games this week, right? Is
Yeah,
that incorrect?
3-0 the weekend.
Rio, they did look good. Like it could be a sign. Like this might be a sign that the gap between academy and LCS teams has gotten smaller. Like especially since FlyQuest historically has been known to not have the most investment in their academy organization.
I,
Um, so like in their interviews with NXI after a couple of these wins, like while he was saying favorable things about their relationship with the LCS roster, specifically his relationship with Jose Dioto, like I have a feeling that they were not given many resources in the academy circuit. And so like this was not even like one of the academy teams that is invested in. This was a middle of the pack academy team coming up and then beating C9. Um,
Not on the
so
standings, I have to note. Um, although I think they cheated because they played their LCS team in Academy and stomped 2 games. But you know, that's an aside. But Fly Academy is currently top of the Academy League.
oh really?
Mhm.
They are 7
Okay,
and
so they
1.
were doing better than I thought they were doing.
No, they
I
are
Like
7 and 1.
I really want to drive this home because I think it relates to like 2 folds of like game state. I think the game is relatively healthy when like the more cohesive team is winning consistently, like whether or not like it's like a team that's played together a lot or just like, hey, we put in a new person and that completed our cohesion that we were looking for. But this also speaks to why other teams probably are having problems, is like if you're not a cohesive team, Cloud9, and you're not playing well as a team and making these decisions and having a good read on the meta, you're not going to do well. So it's actually a double punish for these people that are doing all these roster swaps and doing like making a bad team environment, because you're not going to perform in when it matters. And that's a big thumbs up for me from to the Riot game devs and like the state of play right now, is that if we are consistently seeing teams that have synergy and work well together win, no matter what the individual skill looks like, that's the scene that I like the most.
Eric, what's wrong with the Mortals?
I don't know if I'd say that anything's wrong with them.
They were the only
I
team to 0-3 this weekend. Every other
uh,
team this weekend won at least one game. They were the only one to 0-3.
I kind of want to phrase this the opposite side, which is that things have been going remarkably well for Immortals up until this point, and this was just getting a bit of a comeuppance. And the reason why I'm saying that is that with, um, gosh, like they had like a perfect Xerxes meta to start the split. We're now moving away from a perfect Xerxes meta. On top of that, so like Xerxes stock is falling a bit in my eyes. On top of that, they've had some remarkably good situations and scenarios um, for Revenge and top lane, who's looked very solid, but their bot lane still has been struggling and hasn't been performing the best. So their top jungle super good, mid bot not so great, and then also their late game team coordination, like when they've been going into it without these huge Xerxes rumble leads, you start seeing them fall apart as they get later into the game, which Revenge has talked about in interviews as being their weakest spot as like a complete roster. So I think that's like the bigger piece of this that needs to get worked out is like how can Immortals figure out how to fix their late game shot calling and play the game while while Xerxes not building in a huge lead by getting the most OP champion in the meta.
Who also happens to be historically one of his best champions.
Yes.
Details. Steven, is EG the best team in the league?
No. Yes, right now, currently.
In the best form in the league.
Well, that's just until your boy decides to start clowning again, so.
Look, they won 7 straight.
I think they go officially legendary. Yes? I think they
they've
won
won
8.
7 straight. Or
I
7
think
or,
they just
yeah.
picked up their 8th. I might be wrong in that.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's 8. So
Yeah.
EG has won 8 straight,
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
including wins over C9 and TSM and 100 Thieves, all 3.
Yeah. No, I think
So they played the other. So now they've played 9. All 9 teams in the league in the last 9. Only one they lost to is TL the first game of the 9.
so. We'll have to knock them off their high horse again. But to speak to EG and like brand equity and like cultivating what they've had, this is a really strong showing for like.
Danny's a baller.
Yeah, like as long as we're gonna like poop on orgs that aren't doing well, like let's give some praise here to like it seems like they're doing some really good stuff, and I don't want to say that it's like you just like have collected like some really good individual talents and they're showing up, but I think they're doing a really good job like having these players and not like because where did they place last split? It was like 6th, 5th. It wasn't terribly high.
It was 5th. So
It was
like
5th,
they made
yeah.
it to playoffs. They made it to playoffs, and then they lost to I think it was TSM in the lower bracket.
TSM first round. Yep.
And they could have beaten TSM, but that was the whole infamous Sword Art walking up as Nautilus and just auto attacking
F.
the other ADC.
Oh man.
Yeah, who they benched immediately after the series.
Yes.
So like it was that whole scenario that then like because they could have beaten TSN
Definitely.
in my opinion
Definitely,
and made a
that's
deeper
right.
run in the playoffs. But like this is back to the GZK style comp. That was still with the Golden Glue Huni composition or whatever. So definitely different.
Yeah,
Or I could be thinking back 2 splits. I don't remember too.
They recently overhauled, basically, is what I was getting at, and I asked too
Yeah.
many good questions. So kudos on them on like getting talent, like cultivating it, and getting some wins. I hope again we won't know, but I'm hoping the environment is nice and everybody's enjoying themselves playing the game. It's easy to enjoy yourself when you're winning, so there's that. But this is a pretty freshly assembled roster, and it's performing very, very, very well. So kudos. Thank you, Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, for Danny as a rookie to have um the third best KDA of ADCs um in the league of players that have played all the games to with only FBI and lost ahead of them is a huge credit. Like better KDA than Tactical, better KDA than Neo. Both of them were kind of talked about as the next big thing while Danny was playing in amateur. So he has been better than you could possibly have hoped.
Yes.
So far this split, and GZK has come up better than I thought he could be consistently, is what I would say, because he's been, I think, about as consistent as he's ever been at any point in his time in NA for sure. Like that, then that's a huge part of this.
Yeah, and consistency is really, really key because the rest of that team, like, if everyone's consistent on that team, like, yikers, that's intimidating.
It's a really stacked team. Also, my fun thing while I'm looking at the stats on the page here, I was looking at KDAs for ADCs, and obviously there's some Senna madness in here that screwed it up. In the two games that Ignar has been listed as ADC, he has a combined KDA in those games of 30. 30. That's stupid. I don't like that.
Get these statistics out of my face.
Get Senna out of here. Let's not do
They're
that.
trying.
I,
After the Sentinels event, though. Not now. Later, though. After
yeah, later.
Did you get your pass? Did you get your Sentinels pass?
Any other teams we need to highlight in NA for either of you boys? Steven, do you want to talk about your boys? They've been up and down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's company culture is leaking. So until you fix it, I did like the meme video with Alfari.
Alfari and Steve did a video, right?
Yes, that was some good social media about like, hey, y'all don't need to know what's going on, but this Jersey Mike's is pretty good.
Look, the only reason I ever cheer for TL is for Jersey Mike specials.
Man, it was good. It got me really, really nice. But that's some good social media commentary on like what's going on with kind of like ending it. Like no one's gonna ask now. Like why was Alfari on the bench? It's like you know, it's team. That's for us to handle. None ya.
And that's a great way to turn team drama into like a promotional material for your sponsor. It's like I apologize everyone. I'd never actually go to Chipotle. Instead I'd go to Jersey Mike's to get this up. And it's like this is perfect. It's like they acknowledge that they have a brand that they're supposed to actually be having a positive and healthy relationship with, supposedly. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Eric, are you worried about 100 Thieves?
No, not at all. I'm worried about a lot of other teams in this league, but not 100 Thieves. I think that they were experimenting this weekend. This is the thing that happens when you bring in Reapered, is that you try some stuff and then they fall on their faces. So that's perfectly fine. They still looked more cohesive even in these losses than they looked like last split. So I am still thinking they're trending in a positive direction, even with that week not going so well.
And they are indeed still top of the actual league at 25-11, one game up on TSM and 3 games up on all of EG, C9, and TL. So the 100 Thieves and TSM both dropping games makes the top of the league look a little more interesting, but 3 games up on top 3 games up for top 2 with 9 to play is pretty safe. So, like, I would be surprised if either 100 Thieves or TSM dropped out of top 2 at this point, but I would feel strongly that EG is a team that could try to get there. They need TSM to drop multiple games.
Yeah, and they got to
Yet
keep up this ground game
maintain
of
this
like.
form. Like if they win the match against TSM, it's in play. But it's going to be interesting to see if they can sustain that. And like we've talked about the tiers of the league before. The top 5 is pretty locked in. Dig's pretty locked into 6th. Immortals is pretty locked into 7th. And FlyQuest established a 2-game lead over the other 2 bottom teams this week. So we might just kind of have a playoff picture unless something weird happens. But I have trouble seeing CLG winning 2 more games out of 9. Golden Guardians could surprise us, but
I think no matter how that shakes out, like these middle of the pack teams actually like really cultivating who they're going, like who as in the individual players who are going to be in their playoff games or what their playoff strategies are going to be. Them might make the early rounds of the playoffs absolute bangers because like they're showing up. The upper teams aren't like looking as great, and yes, it might be experimentation or just like being kind of safe up there. But regardless, like the FlyQuest possibly looking good, and like in your middle of the pack is what EG and EG Dignitas, FlyQuest. I guess would be considered the middle of the pack.
Well, EG's in that giant hodgepodge around the 3 through 6 range.
Yeah.
So middle of the pack is hard right now because
Right.
it's like it's 3 through middle. So it's like upper middle and then there's lower middle. So, pick which side of that you want.
All of it is going to be a mess at the beginning of playoffs is what I'm trying to say. Just like as ineloquently as possible.
the other fun thing in NA is we've got 8 teams in the 8 playoff positions out of 10, and they're trying weird roster swap shenanigans. But in NA here, we don't have a team that's firing its entire coaching staff while sitting in a playoff position.
Who would that be?
Let's talk about T1 for a second, boys. Because an hour before we started recording this podcast, T1 put a message on Twitter at like noon Seoul time that they fired their coaching staff. You'll note that T1 is sitting tied for 5th in the LCK, which 5th is the playoff cutoff. So they haven't been that bad, but they've continued the same dumb crap that I've been complaining about them for months, and that they can't settle on a starting 5. They've swapped out the top laners. They've swapped out the junglers. They've swapped out the ADCs. They haven't swapped out Faker yet in summer, but they absolutely cannot settle on a starting 5. And I think that the talk about synergy earlier, like I don't know what they've actually been doing for coaching and building synergy, but clearly it hasn't been working. And the fact that this has been a problem I've complained about for T1 since like January, that they kept doing this all spring. So the fact that it took management until more than halfway through summer to make a change in the coaching position seems like it might be too late for this year to me.
No, I mean if they squeak into playoffs and the new coaching staff like really like it can actually do the job of like being decisive, it sounds like almost might just be boiling down to might do well, but it sounds like just like do your job.
They might be approaching hands-off time, where if you're the person who's brought into this org to follow whatever just happened, because it was Nofe, right? Didn't they get the
It was Danny and Zephyr.
Okay, it was Zephyr though. Like,
Yeah.
because like they got people from Damwon who won Worlds.
Yep.
And then like it fell apart. So it was now here they are, and like if I was brought into this org, I would actually just kind of let Faker do what Faker wants. Just like take a back seat and say, "Hey Faker, what do you think needs to be happening here in order for you to succeed?" And then just and just let them work it out. Because
Bring the
like
ambition.
this is not like a young in it, like especially with the veteran five. This is not a young, inexperienced talent pool who doesn't know how to play the game. This is a very experienced roster who knows how to win and has been losing. Like, you have Teddy who's got that Jin Air credit behind him. Like, just ask them. And like, I know it'll be counter to their culture and you're really flipping it on its head, but like, this is Faker. You just gotta like put your cards in the Faker basket just a little bit while longer and then hope it works out.
And I'd also like to acknowledge that T1's last two results before this firing happened were a loss to Nongshim, who are third in the table and have looked like one of the better teams in the league, 2-0, and they fucking beat Gen G. They beat the best team in the league, 2-0, a week ago. What? I don't know what that organization is doing. It doesn't make any sense.
Clown stuff.
And like there's been a lot of clown behavior in various places. Look no further than Damwon, who are playing their players in their actual roles and winning games again, which seems like a problem for the rest of the league. But I don't know if that's gonna stay. Like, there's been a lot of clown behavior in the LCK, way more than usual this year. Yeah, like, so T1 plays tonight, and I'm interested to see how that goes, because that's going to be first game since turnover. We have no idea who their starting five's going to be. Like, they've got subs in every position. I bet Faker's going to start, but beyond that, like, I don't freaking know.
They don't know.
And like, that's not even the most interesting game of the night, because the other interesting game of the night, if you're looking at your schedules here, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, Nongshim Damwon for second in the league, and a tie for first with Gen G. To the two 7-3 teams that are tied for second right now, going head to head, both in excellent form, and obviously one is a little more expected to win because they're the reigning world champions. But it should be excellent League of Legends to watch. So that's a banger game looking ahead that you probably won't know about because it's in about 8 hours. But what games are you guys looking forward to this weekend?
I want TL to win. I just want to win.
So TL has CLG.
We might get our one.
And 100 Thieves. And TSM.
Yeah.
So I bet you're getting one dub.
Oh man, if we can get multiple,
I'm curious if you're going to get 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to the Misfits Excel game on Friday. Excel, who have been on the rise, and Misfits, who have been on the decline in EU, and they're like these are the teams that are shaping up for one of them Excel might be able to make their way into the playoff picture, and Misfits is going to try and fight to get a 2 seed. So that's a very interesting set. And then EU continues to have bangers in like the middle of the table this week with Vitality G2, Fnatic Astralis, also on Friday. So there's a lot of really interesting games. EU is shaping up like EU always does, where there's this giant hodgepodge of everyone has the exact same record going into like week before playoffs. So that'll be a really exciting time to watch.
So here's the thing. If you're noting an EU game, it doesn't matter that it's 2 mid-table teams. G2 Fnatic is on Saturday. And G2 Fnatic is G2 Fnatic, no matter what the teams are. So that's the EU one I'm calling out. TL 100 Thieves is very high on my list of games I'd like to watch and see how they go. I think that like TL's matches are the NA matches to watch this weekend. You have TL TSM and TL 100 Thieves. There's a lot of less balanced matchups outside of that. Like EG somehow has, I think, at least 2 of the bottom 3 again this weekend. Yeah, they have 2 of the bottom 3 in Dig. So, like, EG could conceivably win 3-0 again this weekend They'll be favored in all 3 matchups again.
That would be wild. What's the
Like
longest winning streak in NA? Isn't it 12 games?
didn't C9 have a perfect split?
C9 had like a 22
C9,
game win streak.
22.
So
Okay.
if you're gonna,
they're not gonna get there.
No.
yeah.
I didn't know
When
since
is-
they changed
when
like
is
the
their
length
bet?
of stuff, you know.
So this is the first time since they went to like the full year-long season. So like with this season, who knows? But
Okay, so I'm just looking ahead, and we're gonna record before this happens, but I think this is the last week of this should be the last week of the NA regular season here. The weekend of the 29th, 30th, and 1st of August. EG closes the season with C9, TL, 100 Thieves. Last 3 games of the season. So that's bangers. That also is interesting to note from a playoff positioning angle. They're going to have full control over their destiny if they don't screw this up going into the last weekend, because they can take down all 3 of those teams to get a shot at it. So that's just from a positioning standpoint. If they keep up and keep within a game or 2 of the top 2, they're going to have the ability to take care of this in the last weekend, which is fascinating. I didn't realize their schedule skewed that much. I figured they had to have a hard week before the end, but their hard week is the end.
The end. The end times.
I noted Nongshim Damwon. I would also note Damwon T1, which I think is what day was that? Saturday. Saturday early in the morning, 6 a.m. on Saturday. I don't think that's going to be close, and I think that's a big deal in terms of playoff positioning in the LCK, because if Damwon and Nongshim can actually separate themselves from the chasing pack, it's gonna be like the playoff picture in the LCK could be a lot clearer this weekend if Damwon takes care of business, which is gonna be interesting to see. T1's had a real chance of missing playoffs if they can't take care of this, and they have 2 not great matchups after this coaching change. So we'll see what happens to this. I would also note Hanwha Genji is going to be very interesting to watch. Chovy's been in spectacular form lately. And if you want to watch hilarious LPL, Top FPX is always a banger. Top FPX is also on Saturday morning. I would watch that game. You also have the most classic of LPL rivalries in Royal against EDG on Sunday early morning. And Royal's been in terrible form, but Royal can win that game. That's a rematch of spring finals, I believe. So that should be interesting, even if EDG is likely to win it. So lots of good games. Always a good time for League of Legends. Let's talk about the actual game briefly before we're done, as we like to do. Have you boys been playing the Sentinels of Light business?
Yes. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan. Just
What don't you like about it, Steven? Let's talk about the actual game for a little bit.
Okay, so I like the cinematics. I like the story. I like the integration across games. The click-through storybook thing is boring. It's really boring. Especially when like they could do the comic book style, which it's been a minute since I did that. I think I'm referring back to the Freyord Sisters War thing, where they had the comic that you like went through in the client and stuff. Do that. I wasn't a fan of the Spirit Blossom format. It was a little weeb for my blood. And then doing it again, but not with the weebness, I still don't like it. So it's the format that's the problem.
I was about to say, I'm going to need Eric's take on it now, because I know how Eric felt about Spirit Blossom. Eric, what do you think of it so far?
I kind of agree, because they made it more linear. Like that was the feedback I think that they acted on, is people didn't like the click-through storytelling thing as much in Spirit Blossom, so they made it linear. But that means it's just a linear narrative like it was in Spirit Blossom. So I think they fixed the wrong thing.
Yes.
And because I totally agree that like having more options would be enjoyable with like being able to see the different characters and the different quests and then like deciding how to focus rather than just getting the next mission and like hitting the next tier and then having to click through another set of storyline. One thing I will say though, and like I really like the character art that they've done for this, and it looks very much like Hades to me. I don't
Yes.
know if it's the same graphic person who does like Hades and Bastion Empire, but it looks like the same person, and it's very good.
Yeah. Now, if only it was a comic book instead of this. I'm just really not a fan. I don't know if I can articulate that without being mean.
Are you
It's
like Steven and want to go back to the good old days of comic books? Maybe need some nice nostalgia in your life?
go to
And
the
like,
better time.
you can check out the Funky Store where you can get cool nostalgia related apparel.
Um, good plug. Make the money rain down. Um, have y'all played much Ultimate Spellbook?
A little bit. People play Yasuo in it a lot, and it makes me big sad because Yasuo with an additional ult is kind of rude.
Especially when you
What?
can get like Malphite ult. Like Yasuo with Malphite ult, like you just set yourself up. That's it takes all the skill away from the champion's kit while he still has Wind Wall, which can block now your extra stolen champion ult from the other team. Like any champion with a Wind Wall should be banned in this mode for fun reasons. It's like I stopped playing Overwatch for this reason. Why is it happening here?
Or just let us ban, like every,
Yeah.
like, I
What's
think they have the
the
technology.
what's the spiciest thing you've rolled?
I think I overthink things, and I usually get really, really bad combinations. I did have Yorick and Malzahar ult, which I thought was going to be fun, but it was into a Gwen, so I didn't have a good time.
I Malzahar ult, I laned against a Darius with Malzahar ult, which was pretty unpleasant, but I played really safe, so I won the game.
Nice. There
But
you go.
Darius with Malzahar ult is deeply unpleasant. I don't
I'm
like that.
bleeding.
Eric, what's the
Mine was
spiciest thing you've rolled?
I think mine that I enjoyed the most was Lux with Karthus ult. So then I like, hit the binding, hit them with the
Tactical
laser.
nuke
They get
incoming.
out with like 50 HP, and then I just pressed like the Karthus ult button. It was like
That's
it was very
yucky.
fun. Um, it's,
My Poppy with Gragas ult is mine. I hope you like getting displaced because you're gonna get displaced in this lane. And the being able to combo myself into a wall stun with Gragas ult knocking someone back towards a wall to E into the wall. I did it right a couple of times and it's really satisfying.
like CC combos with the ultimates is definitely like the meta for the better or more like traditional OP things you can do. Where it's like what you're talking about with like Grag Assault into Poppy Stun, or like I really liked one that Alan did where he was Vayne and had Jarvan ult. So you like Jarvan
Yeah,
ult
that's
them and then
exactly.
you just E them into the wall that you made yourself. Like
Feels good, man.
being able to set up your own combos is just incredibly powerful.
Also, just Cho'Gath ult on anyone. Not
Ult
that
on
I'm a
anyone.
salty, but the Gwen had Cho'Gath ult, and yeah, it hurted
And
it. I didn't like it. And then I also had, I think it was a Darius with the Cho'Gath ult, which was also like just not fun. I ran into a lot of
and
top
then it's
laners with
like I've
Cho'Gath
seen
ult.
so many things that are just Samira with another button, and then I'm just like, oh, I just don't like Samira. That's part of the problem here. What's that you said? Samira with Jarvan ult? I don't like that. That's gross. That's bad. I don't like that. No.
But if
So
only
it's
they added bans, you know.
yeah, because yeah, the prevalence of Yasuo I feel like displeases me on a certain level, and not being able to do anything about it is sad. But you know who's great for that? I just play Poppy and push
Poppy.
W. I play Poppy and push W, build an int tabby, and then they die.
Have you seen the new Yordle character?
I've seen a little bit. I'm gonna wait for a full reveal to get hype about it. We haven't talked about Akshan if we're gonna talk about
Akshan.
new characters. How do you feel about Akshan?
He's strong. He's gonna be really good. A team res is pretty nice.
Is it? I don't think it's gonna be as bad as people think it is. I really don't.
I
Like
think it's just a lot. Like you kind of blew your load on a character, man. Like there's a lot of unique things about this person, and he probably could have gotten away with just like one, and give like spread out some of that love.
well,
And
and the
don't.
question is which one's gonna get taken away because we know how this works with Riot is he's gonna get one of his fun things taken away. I don't
Thing
think
is,
it's gonna be the res, but it's gonna be something
I
else.
feel like the res is kind of the weakest part of his kit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
It's
I get it.
it
It's not as
can be
thematic as it could be.
and it can be game changing, but so much of that is gonna be so situational. Like
Yeah.
it in pro at late game, it's going to be busted. In pro at late game. Because rezzing at the fountain, you're not going to immediately be able to continue to turn a fight around if he gets this reset. It's we're going to be on the map and in a better place for that eventually, and we might have some timers get messed up, but it's not like he's still going to have to pop off and win a team fight by himself. They don't just come back into the team fight. That would be broken. It's not that.
I really do like all of his other like. I would really just take away the res from his kit, to be honest, just because thematically it's really nice. It's Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed dude with a grappling hook, and then like the lock on, and then grappling hook, and like that looks like it's gonna be just like, oh, feels good to play.
Satisfying. Like it
Yeah,
looks like it's going to be satisfying to play
and then the stealth
mechanically.
around with that, I think
Yeah.
that was enough. I think like
I
I'm
think
not
the
even talking
stealth's going
about
to get taken away.
brokenness at this point, but just like thematically, it's like you don't need it. Save that for another
The stealth is the
character,
thing that's going to get taken away. That's what they're going to
which
do.
is lame because I think that works better with the kit than the res does. I don't think the
Well,
res
I
is
agree,
important.
but
the camo's good. It's just it's probably too strong.
it's
They
too
made it
strong.
so that it's too good in river, and like that's the problem. Like they're gonna need to nerf how well it works, just cause like they gave him a camo ability that's better than Twitch, Evelyn, or Akali's.
The stealth characters.
Like you nerfed Akali's one. Why would you give him this? Is kind of the thought process.
Oh, there's all stealth like over and over and over again, and so then they made a really really strong one. It's like the same thing as like, oh, we don't really like Warwick's healing, so we're gonna nerf it to oblivion. But then here's the old Aatrox, like the week later, where he just like drained DPS tanks. It's like, wait a minute, you guys said you didn't like that. That's how I feel about the stealth.
So, the other thing I linked for us to peep at quick, Pro Play is going to hit 11:14, I think, this week or this weekend, depending on your league. I have the 11:15 notes here, which have a lot of Pro Play relevant buffs and nerfs. What catches your eye in the 11:15 preliminary patch notes?
Hull breaker, like so in general, being here, especially with buffs, is going to be interesting. Someone's going to try and make it happen, and like top lane champion shifts would be a big deal because people have already been moving towards Dr. Mundo, who's probably overtuned, but like Bruiser's going up there would be a big deal.
And it does contain significant nerfs to Gwen and Viego, who are part of that top lane ecosystem.
You think?
Significant parts of it in some ways.
Are you saying that like the 20% off the level 1 attack speed is enough on that E?
I think it's gonna help.
Yeah.
I think
That's
Viego
the
got
ability that
harder.
people rank up level 1 to win trades in lane.
Right. So
So,
20% off of it is enough.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
it's a big deal. I don't know if it's enough, but like
Yeah.
that's a huge nerf. Like, and it's the ability that people have been putting points into for 1v1s.
Well, and like the thing with Viego is they're trying real hard to just push him out of lane with these changes. Which
They
if he
should.
gets played in the jungle, that's fine. But him getting his passive healing from minions just neutered, I think is going to help a lot with his oppressiveness.
Yeah, and I like how like to me personally as a jungle chimp, I like damage based around if it is a monster or not. I really like crafting champions around those because you can make them feel really, really good in the jungle and make them really, really good at jungling without doing the risk of them becoming oppressive in lane. And I don't think they leverage that enough, so it's good to see them doing it here.
What catches your eye from the buff list?
Nidalee, like Nidalee being like any kind of, because she's like borderline a little bit just with items and stuff. And like, is there a world where a split push AP Nidalee is a thing because of those items? I don't know. But the little bit of health in the early jungle clear, so that those early not scrimmages, but like if she accidentally runs into the jungler and can capitalize on it with being a little bit healthier, might be attractive enough for some people to pick her up.
There's
And
some
she's up.
weird stuff in this buff list, like that Cassiopeia, like doubling the damage rank 1 on E. Like that seems dangerous, because that's a spam ability.
Some people did the math, and if you hit a Q, or if you hit a Q or two at level 1, you can maybe Q ignite ease all in at 2 and get the kill before you run out of mana.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The other thing that just shocks me on this, and I know I'm going back to the nerfs, is like, what the hell did Aurelion Soul do? Why did they nerf his E-Flight distance by that
Lot.
much?
Yeah, they didn't even
Well,
buff
and
anything
it's
either.
the
What the
point that has been
heckums?
made, because that's been all that Reddit has talked about it, is why is Aurelion Soul getting nerfed and Yone isn't? Is that it's not it's a nerf to Soul, but he's not putting ranks in E until 14 anyway, other than the first rank. So it's not that big of a nerf most of the time.
Right.
But who's looking at
It
him?
doesn't seem like a nerf because of like power of play. It looks like they're nerfing it because there's like problems in game because of the distance he travels.
Yeah.
And it's just very bizarre.
The spaghetti code. The
I would
spaghetti code.
I would like to point out, Kennen, you talked
Yeah.
about changing the top lane meta. Kennen's a jerk to bruisers in particular, and him getting better trades on Q is good for him, and that could change some things. The other thing I think to note from pro play is Syndra getting her mana cost on level 1 Qs better is going to help her early lane, which she's already getting picked a decent bit as like one of the mages that you can get away with playing. People are going to play her even more if her early lane is better.
I think the other one that like seems kind of sus is just like the damage on Shyvana Q with that scaling off of AP as well. Like they're really pushing for AP Shyvana to be the meta.
They
And
should.
that's a pretty powerful damage spike. For another champion that has a really good clear speed and is AP.
One of the finest.
I do like it.
All right, I kind of already asked you what you've been playing. You've been playing anything in your normal games?
I don't know if I played any normal games.
We've played some Arums and
Your
I've
favorite
been
RM
getting.
of the recent days?
Oh, it's definitely when I get to play Tristana, um, and do some shenanigans. I got a double kill with Buster shotting somebody into fourth auto on bomb activation off under their turret explosion. That was very cool.
That's satisfying.
Yeah.
I got Nidalee in the game, so that's always fun. I do like that.
Did you run it down? I run it down when I get into lane and ARM because I'm bad
Oh
at her.
no, I had delusions of one tricking Nidalee for a long time, and oh boy, I do like when I get my hands on her. It's a ride.
I'm a dirty Warmog second item Soraka abuser in my ARAMs these days, boys.
Ew.
I've
How do you
always
sleep
been
at night?
sir. I was playing tank Warmog Soraka and ARAMs before they buffed it and made it really good. My Soraka's were always full tank. It's just better now because I can build it second item instead of fourth item.
I was always an animal.
It's true. Yeah, so unironically, playing Soraka is very satisfying with that build because you just don't die. And E is a really good button in ARAM. Like that's the thing that people underrate with Soraka is yeah, the healing is obnoxious, and yeah, her never dying is obnoxious. That silence field does so much work in team fights if you do it right and just can shut somebody down for a minute or shut somebody down that's CC'd and is gonna try to flash out. It's really, really good and really satisfying to get the play right. Or since you are often the target of being jumped on, if you can anticipate it and drop the E on yourself as someone jumps on you, so they're just stuck, it's great. So I really unironically do like playing Soraka and ARAM. It's satisfying to get the stuff right that you get right and to get your timings right. You're also a disgusting battery of heals,
And
but you know,
a
details.
bad person.
I am the worst. My best ARAMs recently have been on Soraka and Sona, and I don't feel bad at all. Uh so that'll about do it for us. We've plugged the merch store. Steven, would you like to plug the site?
Yes, you should go to funkygames.com. You can see all of our social stuff and everything that we're doing at one convenient location. We totally appreciate you doing that. And you can like and subscribe for more content, like our poster series where we play video games all the way through because we're posers and we don't want to be posers anymore. Like Donkey Kong Country and Pokemon and Sonic. You should watch those. Love you. Thanks.
What's what Pokemon have you guys been doing?
We've been playing Pokemon Blue version, and we also started playing the Pokemon trading card game, which is not on motorcycles, which is very sad.
I was just talking to one of my children at work today about how I don't know how to play the Pokemon trading card game, and it makes me kind of sad.
Well, you should
Well,
watch the first episode because we go over how to play the Pokemon card game because
Awesome.
Eric has a doctorate, apparently.
Look, I don't know if y'all know, but Eric plays some card games.
Eric,
He's familiar with the card games on motorcycles.
see, I keep hearing about these card games on motorcycles, and we never
Games on motorbikes. Anyway, that's it for us tonight. This has been Reaction Time. We'll probably see you in a couple of weeks. We'll have a big, delicious special leading into the final week of NA with that timing. Um, among other things, it'll be getting towards the ends of other regions, but I do know that NA ends first because it has a longer playoff structure now. So our next episode will probably be primarily NA focused and looking at playoff matchups and seeing how stuff is going to shake out before the last week of the regular season. So there you have it. That's the summary. Check it out. Watch some games this week. Hit us with your feedback. Buy some merch. Get us some stuff. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll see you then. Reaction time. Deuces.